It's time for Market Explainer, your number one business news podcast. Hosted by Danny and the big man. And it starts right now.
When I do the show, when I curate the stories, I want to be able to say something interesting, funny, whatever.
Sure.
This is a little so what has happened is basically I look at this and you tell me if I'm correct or incorrect.
Sure.
So the movie Pretty Woman was about Richard Gere. He's a corporate raider, which was all the rage. Leveraged buyouts were all the rage in the 80s.
Yep.
Carl Icahn made his bones in leveraged buyout, all this other stuff. I think that's anyway. And I've been diving in a little bit into high finance just to learn stuff. That's why I'm saying it high finance instead of finance, like a normal person. And this is all fascinating to me. And because I'm learning all this stuff, I see this article. It's fascinating. Citrix, which is, they do like, how would you describe Citrix? I mean, if you've ever worked at a big company, you have interacted with a Citrix product,
yeah, but
and you've hated it.
Here's an easy way for you to understand this. If you were trying to explain this to your kid and you said, honey, when you pause your Mickey Mouse video on your iPad and you went into your room and you wanted it to play at the same spot on your television set, that's what Citrix does for companies, right? Citrix is an application way back before there were applications that allowed you to work no matter where you were or what you were working on, whether it was a laptop, whether it was your desktop, before we were all connected like we are now, right? Back in the day, we weren't connected like this. There was no
Zoom. And so they didn't have, because I remember at the last corporate gig I had, they had a handful of Citrix products, but Microsoft Teams had effectively replaced, they were using a bunch of, like, I think it was called Citrix Jabber and also stuff. And they had, internal chat things. Microsoft and Google have effectively, I wouldn't say killed, but Microsoft and Google have done a very good job of replacing or having like services to Citrix, where if you're a large corporation and you already have Office 365, it doesn't make sense to carry a Citrix, like have a Citrix product as a part of your technology stack, because you can achieve this with a company that you already have you're doing big business with.
True, but here's how they've lasted so long. It's lasted so long for the reason that it's being acquired and taken private, right? Is because they were around before all of these other, people that are trying to now do what they do. They were around forever ago, and they are what we consider a legacy platform. But they were a legacy platform that still paid hundreds of people to keep it up to date and to work on Office 365, to work on all of the, Windows 10 and what will come out Windows. So they kept alive, but here's the problem. They used to, like most forms of software, you purchased that software and you got it forever. If you bought Windows, even up until until Office, 7?
No, it was Office. Yeah.
What was the last one where you could? I think it was Office 7, 2007.
No, you can still buy Office.
You can't buy Office anymore. It's all Office 365.
No, because I own it.
But it's monthly. So. You pay monthly.
I don't. I bought a license, but they are pushing you. Here's how they do it, though. They make it nearly impossible to figure out. You can just buy Office. I think I have Office 2019 or something.
So that they don't want you to, though. They want you to pay monthly. They want you to pay annually, whatever. Exactly. So what happened, though, is Citrix used to sell licenses for a one-time fee to these big corporations. And then they would charge them on the IT side. Here's a small fee for us to maintain it. Here's the problem. That is no longer a sustainable model because of how big companies are, right? Because you're undercutting yourself, right?
And that's all it is.
And they transitioned to a monthly fee, but it was too late. It's too late.
So what is happening is, a company called Elliott Management, which is Paul Singer, which if you like to think of that world as like celebrities. This is not a this guy is a real like killer when it comes to like leverage buyout. He's an
Right.
activist investor. Elliott Management is what I think the oldest hedge fund in the country or something like that.
It's
Um,
definitely one of the oldest.
yeah, and they are as a part of one of their subsidiaries, Vista Equity Partners, with another company called Evergreen. They are
Mm-hmm.
acquiring in total Citrix for a total of 16.5 billion. This is
Mm-hmm.
a huge, and so some of what in this is just me speculating. Some of what happens in these leverage buyout situations, Sears will be a good example, is the fund comes in and buys them and then hits them with a bunch of debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the company has to now innovate something in order to find its way out of this debt. But the fund, on the other hand, has taken fees, has taken interest payments. The fund is going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Question is, does Toys R Us, the Sears, how did they survive? And in the case that we know now of Sears, no survive. No
Well,
survive.
but they already have a plan,
Yeah.
and the reason I
So
say they already have a
that,
plan.
and
Go ahead.
that's why this privatization of Citrix is different, right? Is
Then
because
most
they
of the
have
cases.
yeah. And then most of the cases is this LBO. It makes sense because they actually have a product, and if they can really rejigger their products, they're actually going to be merging Citrix with a company called Tibco.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of that. I'm
It's a
not saying
cloud analyst based software, very similar to what
yes.
Citrix does. And this is what I say. They have a plan, and here's why I say that. When
Yep.
someone is willing to not only buy something from you, but
Yep.
willing to buy it from you at a premium. So when this was first announced, which is actually a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah.
When it was first announced, but it's just now said, okay, it's going through, it's
Yes.
close, right, or whatever.
Yep.
They offered a 30% premium, 30% above market value, which brought the price per share to $104 per share, what they're
Right.
buying. So if you've owned Citrix for the last decade, you probably paid less than that. And the companies, not only are they purchasing the company at a 30% premium, they are also, now it's not a premium of right now. Right now it's about 105, which is just stupid if you're paying for more. If you're buying the stock today at 105, you're losing $1 per share. Like,
Right.
because they're only paying a dollar, $104 per share. So you're an
Right.
idiot. But whatever.
Right.
If you're wanting to buy it, go ahead. My point though is not only did they pay a 30% premium, they also
Right.
took on they're paying off all of Citrus's debt.
Really.
So they're taking on the debt, they're taking on the share price at a 30% premium. So they already have a plan to make money. You don't spend that kind of money unless you are all but guaranteed more than that on the other side.
Right.
If you don't have a plan to turn around, and I guarantee you, here's what they're going to do. They're going to make it private, and they're going to tell all of these people with legacy licenses that
Right.
Citrix just had no legal way to get out of. Right? Like
Right.
Microsoft can't stop you currently from using Office 2007, but they
Right.
cannot support it.
Correct. And that's what they're going to do.
That's what they're
Is
going
it,
to do. They're going to go, no, we're not Citrix anymore. We're
yeah.
owned by a new company, and
We're
all of these
Tibco. Yes.
legacy licenses that are out there, the millions of them, probably from the 90s and the 2000s, right,
Right.
are all these legacy licenses are worth $0 once this goes through.
Correct. And they're not going to be supported. And I bet you some of them will end up as open source projects or something because that's a lot of times what happens is these big companies offload a software and it ends up in the open source market. But this is
You and I both know that people hate change.
yeah, of
So if
course.
you have a company out there of 10,000 employees right now that have used Citrix for the last 8 years,
And they have
and
to
Citrix turns around and says, "Guess what? All those licenses you bought, that we appreciate that donation, but it's now going to be $7 per person per month.
yeah.
You're going to pay it." Even if Microsoft's product is cheaper, even
Yeah.
if you know what I mean, whatever,
Whatever.
it's
Yeah.
they're because people hate change. That's going to come out of somebody where they have to stand in front of a CEO and go,
Right.
this is now, I know it was costing us X, but now
Right.
it's costing us Y."
Yeah. And we don't so and I'll say this much in the world of design, I Adobe went from launching a, Creative Suite 6 was the last one that they launched. And after that, they went to Creative Cloud, and you just pay $20 a month per app. Well, I just refuse to do that for whatever reason. So I don't. So when I deal with, contractors and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, of course they came out with a new file version. So when
Of
I try to
course.
open the new files on my old software, so they always go, I always have to be like, can you please export the file for CS6? And I always have to message them
Mm-hmm.
that, and I have to ask them twice. So it's like, it is basically like saying, can you fix this because I'm poor? But it's just, I don't want to give
No, I understand.
Adobe all my money. And I actually went and found out, and this is how much people hate change. I went and found a competitor software that you can buy a one-time license. Now, my license for CS6 as a student, when I bought it as a student, was $600. Okay, that's for students.
Yeah.
You can go buy this other software called Affinity Design Plus, and it's really good. And it's really good. Okay, and I paid $100 for a lifetime license with updates for 3 years. And I've never opened this software in my entire life because I'm so stuck using CS6 Illustrator, and I just can't change.
Every company relies on that to a certain extent. They just do. And look, this is a company that's been in trouble for a long time. This is not a new thing. They went through restructuring last year where they laid off a bunch of people and, got rid of some buildings and infrastructure and stuff like that and tried to streamline their business a little bit and that kind of stuff. They knew this model wasn't going to last forever, but here's what they have, and it's what I think is not undervalued, but not valued as it should be. They have a client list and a crap ton of intellectual property, right? Yes. That's proprietary to Citrix. So again, this company is buying intellectual property that they can turn around and do anything with because it no longer is Citrix, right, as a company.
No. Well, I mean, they are keeping the name Citrix around, which is what the article said, but it is the management of this company, the ownership of this company is no longer Citrix. So I am curious to see if they're going to give this a year or two and then say we're stripping this bad boy for parts.
Well, or it just will fade into non-existence. There will be no news article saying Citrix doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. But if you had it on your work computer and all of a sudden it goes from Citrix one day and it says, update. Whatever this new, update, and now it's called, what was it, Tibco, right? Yeah. Or whatever it is. Nobody would be the wiser unless you used it every day because they just basically integrated all of their features and programs and whatever into what they are now. And now, because what they want is the client list. They want the users that are not going to, like you, that are not going to leave and go anywhere else, that we can then just now acquire them. And guess what? Renegotiate any contract Citrix has, right? For better arrangements and better deals. And all these companies will give it to them because they're not going to try something else. They don't know how it works anyway.
Right.